there, and welcome to Grimwit with Dimwits. I'm Blondie.
And I'm T. Hey, Blondie, how you doing these days?
I'm doing well. Just like everybody else, busy getting ready for the holidays.
Yep, I'm busy too getting ready for the holidays, and I'm happy to report I'm going to actually have Thanksgiving off. Yay me.
Yay you.
I know, right? Gobble, gobble.
Okay. I will be kind and let that one just go.
Thank you. I'm thankful for that. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Okay, I have a question for you. We've been friends an awfully long time. Too long. And I don't know if you've ever been in a physical fight before, have you?
Have I been in a physical fight? No, actually I have not. However, I have saved a friend from being in a fight.
Oh, really? What happened there?
So we were skating at a rink, and my friend was talking to a guy. And apparently this guy had a girlfriend. Now, she didn't do anything wrong. She was just talking to him. She may have even, skated with him.
Trollop.
Right. So his girlfriend shows up, and she threatens my friend and tells my friend, I'm just going to kick your butt. Out in the parking lot. That's it. It's on.
So she's a dainty flower.
So it came time. We went outside. Time to leave. Her mom was going to pick us up. In the meantime, a circle had formed in the parking lot with her and this girl in the middle. Everybody's cheering on. You know how kids are and how, vicious they want to see, especially a girl fight.
Of course, because, shirts might come off.
Right. Pillows might be broken out.
Right. Pajamas might be worn.
So anyway, so it's getting ready to start. And I'm like, I can't have this. I reach through the crowd with my Wonder Woman cape on, grab her, pull her through the crowd, rush her over to the car, which miraculously her mother was pulling up at the time, threw her in, and we escaped.
Wow.
I know, right?
Look at you and your superhero capabilities. Who knew?
Who knew? I know. So other than that, no, I have not been in a fight. How about you?
I have never been in a fight either. It's never come to fists. I actually tried to beat this girl up a couple of times when I was like in 6th grade. And she was tall and she was supposed to be tough. She was in 6th grade too. And she just kept giving me dirty looks and talking about me, whatever. And I was like a happy-go-lucky person, but I was fed up with her. And I went up to her and I tried to start a fight with her twice. And both times she backed down. And I walked away like Rocky.
Wow.
Dun, 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 you don't want to mess with me. And I felt pretty good about it because this girl, I think she would have killed me.
Look at you, little 6th grade bulldog.
Just this one girl. And her name was Della. I'm going to say it. Her name was Della.
Look at you putting her on notice.
That's right, Della. You don't want none of this.
Apparently not, because you were pretty vicious, it sounds like.
It was so not like me either. And you know what's funny is our counselor was like 5 feet away when I was threatening her the first time. And he knew me. We were pretty tight. He just watched the whole thing happen.
Girl fight.
I know, right? He was probably like, where did this part of your personality come from? He was probably completely entertained.
But then years later, you beat the hell out of a CD case.
Well, that CD case was giving me dirty looks too, and I didn't like it.
It had it coming.
It had it coming. I dellaed the hell out of that CD case.
All those years you had that pent-up pent-up aggression.
That's right. Somebody had to pay.
Wow. Well, okay. So those are our non-beating up stories. What do you have going on this week?
Those are our violent, non-violent stories.
That just goes to show you where we come from.
Exactly. Well, the reason I asked you is because this story is about a fist fight gone terribly, terribly wrong. It's a story about a young couple who were living in Preston Hills at Mill Creek Apartments in Beaufort, Georgia. And they were having issues in their relationship. Daniel Gonzalez had apparently been unhappy in this relationship and was trying to break up with 27-year-old Antonetta Stevens. But that was difficult because they had a 3-year-old son together. And Antonetta was very possessive of Daniel. And she didn't want to let go She was very manipulative and at the point of being obsessed. Now, on a side note here, they were doing that thing, well, more her than him, that millennials do, and it drives me crazy, where they call each other my husband or my wife, and they're not married. It's so dumb. Usually that all amounts to one person who needs to lay claim and wants the title, and the other person goes along with it just to keep the peace, but they don't want the commitment. It's ridiculous. It gets confusing for everybody else. You don't get to fake it when the rest of us made legit commitments and actually earned those titles. It's so pretentious and drives me insane.
Well, not only just making those commitments, but we actually do all the good and the bad with all of them. We've earned that.
Exactly. Exactly. We made the sacrifice.
The sacrifice. Wow.
So, yeah, anyway, I was just like, oh, and she does this throughout this whole story and it makes me crazy. So anyway, Daniel is originally from New York and had only been in Georgia for a short time. I think he said about a year. It just so happened that a very attractive and very petite 30-year-old Ashley Bocanegra lived right around the corner from Daniel and Antonetta. Not only do they live near each other, but Ashley and Daniel work at the same Floor and Decor store where Daniel works overnight shifts with Ashley as his manager. Now, Ashley is a very beautiful woman with a big smile that lights up a room. Over time, while working together, they begin an affair and completely fall for each other. Although it's messy, they begin planning to leave their significant others and be together.
I saw a picture of Ashley. She is really pretty.
Very pretty. On August 10th, 2022, while Daniel and Ashley are at work, they walk across the street to a Quick Trip store and are suddenly surprised and approached by Antonetta and Janine Gonzalez, who is Daniel's 17-year-old sister. An argument ensues when Antonetta accuses Ashley of trying to steal her man. The women get into a heated exchange, but Daniel is able to protect Ashley by calming Antonetta down, and everybody moves on. Or so we think.
So Janine and Antonetta are close?
They're very close. Why, I don't know, but they're very close.
And she just assumed that this Ashley was the one that was having an affair or whatever with Daniel?
Yep, she did. She talks about it later on, but she did. On a side note, another side note, some sources stated that Daniel and Ashley used to be together in New York, and her 7-year-old son is actually Daniel's son. So Daniel is supposed to be the baby daddy to both women's sons. But this information is only in some of the sources, not all, and other sources said that wasn't true. And to me, this doesn't make any sense because none of the players involved in this throughout any of the actual video recordings mention it. Not Daniel, not Ashley, not Antonetta, or his sister. And Daniel's own sister acts like she didn't even know Ashley at all before the Quick Store encounter. I think if she was an aunt to Ashley's son, some familiarity would be there, or at least someone would have mentioned something about it. So I'm going to lean on the side of Ashley's son not being Daniel's child, because that part of the story was making me a little bit crazy, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if the son was Daniel's, the sister would have said something.
Yeah, or somebody, Daniel would have said something to, show why he's connected to her, but it never comes up with any of the players in this whole story.
Huh.
The following day, August 11th, 2022, Antonetta is still seething about seeing Daniel with another woman, who she's blaming for all of their recent issues in their relationship. So while Daniel is sleeping, she and Janine, who Antonetta calls her sister-in-law, decides to steal Daniel's phone and find the girl's number. When they find it, they text Ashley and pretend to be Daniel by saying, quote, "My wife is kicking me out of the house. Can you come and get me?" End quote. Then the two women head outside and wait to ambush Ashley when she arrives to help Daniel. Antonetta also tells Janine to film the entire thing, so she does. During all of these premeditated plans to attack Ashley, Daniel is fast asleep as usual because he works the graveyard shift and he has absolutely no idea what's about to happen. The girls go outside and wait for Ashley, and when they see her, she is caught by surprise. Antonetta starts aggressively approaching her, and the first thing she says is, "That was me," making sure that Ashley now knows that she's been tricked with the text. And then she starts viciously beating on Ashley.
So not only is there no Daniel, the first thing she encounters is a fist?
Yep, fists of fury for real.
Wow.
Now, Ashley is a very, very tiny, thin, petite girl. She actually looks like a kid, while Antonetta is much bigger and could pass for a 49ers linebacker. So already, this is definitely not a fair fight.
Okay, well, that's a definite visual.
I'm being a little mean about it, but she's a bigger girl. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
The assault is so savage and bloody that the video blurs Ashley's face out. While Antonetta has Ashley on the ground, obviously with the advantage, she says to her multiple times, "I will murder you. I will murder you. Stop. You so lucky my nails is hurting right now, 'cause I would do worse to you. That's why he was trying to protect you, but now he don't care for you to get your ass beat."
Her nails are hurting her? What? She still managed to beat the crap out of her, but she's stopping? Is that what I'm hearing? Because her nails hurt?
Yep. She's holding back. Ashley is begging for Antonetta to get off of her the whole time. And then because beating the hell out of her just isn't enough, now she has to be even more cruel and beat her down emotionally, too. Antonetta faces her toward the apartments and tells Ashley, "Say hi to Daniel," as if he's watching the whole thing go down. Antonetta continues to tell Ashley that Daniel encouraged her to go out and her up. The only reason he's not out there watching is because he's in the house with their son.
Did you mention how old Daniel is?
I didn't, and I actually did look for that. I couldn't find it. I don't know why nobody talks about his age, but he looks young, maybe 25 to 30.
So in man years, he's what, 12?
Yeah. We didn't plan that. That's how it is.
No, we did not.
She also says that Daniel gave her permission because he was so sad that Antonetta was going to leave him. So to keep her around, he's backing her and gave her permission to do whatever she wanted. This woman is so manipulative that she's doing everything in her power to make it seem like her and Daniel have this unbreakable connection. She desperately needs Ashley to think that Daniel is like her husband already, and he's madly in love with her. But in reality, he's been trying to leave her, and this whole little fairy tale is just in her psychotic mind. How insane do you have to be go this far and be outrageously cruel? This woman's jealousy has amounted to pure evil.
All of this sounds like pure rage to me. I mean, he must be some kind of catch.
I didn't think so.
So he's picking a linebacker over a Barbie doll?
Sounds like he was stuck with the linebacker, but wanted to play with the Barbie doll. But Antonetta isn't done with her threats. She tells Ashley that she's videotaping this fight so she can show it to her job and get her fired. She starts talking about how it's a conflict of interest for her to be sleeping with Daniel, her employee, on the clock. She's going every which direction that she can to scare Ashley into thinking she's going to lose absolutely everything important in her life. But Ashley just keeps begging Antonetta to get off of her. And during this time, you hear Daniel's sister, Janine, in the background say, "Don't stop. Don't stop till I tell you to."
She tells her not to stop until she says so? What is she, the mafia queen in this scenario?
Yeah, that part was really weird. It's like all of a sudden she speaks up and that's what she says.
Like she's in charge. That is bizarre.
She's a sadist and in charge. Ashley is continuously beaten, punched in the face, tossed around, and thrown across the asphalt. That goes to show just how small she is. She looks like she weighs less than 100 pounds. So she's being treated like a rag doll. And Janine, what the heck? She's definitely learned how to be cold-hearted in her short 17 years. This is why I can never be skinny again. I'm wearing my defense mechanism. It's called survival.
You know what they always say? Bigger girls don't get kidnapped because they're hard to carry.
That's right.
So if this is an apartment complex, wasn't there anyone else around? I mean, was 911 called? Were there any witnesses?
Yeah, apparently people in the leasing office did see this and they called 911.
They didn't get there in time.
They did not get there in time. Then Antonetta tells Janine to steal Ashley's phone and take it back to the apartment. They refuse to give it back, telling her that she's going to have to jump both of them if she wants it. But despite being beaten viciously, Ashley gets up and follows her assailants back to their apartment to get her phone back. I'm not trying to be mean, but she must have had some kind of common sense knocked out of her, because I would have personally called it a loss and been on my way. She's obviously no match for these two, and get this, Janine even videotaped herself stealing the phone from Ashley's shoe because, she's smart like that.
Oh, hell no. I mean, I feel bad for Ashley, but no matter what they're going to do with the phone, like showing it to her boss or to her boyfriend. You said she had a boyfriend.
Yep.
Go ahead. If they show the video, they look like the demented ones. And there's no phone or guy is worth that kind of physical damage. Plus, you have to think about the fact that Antoinetta is Daniel's baby mama. She's always going to be in the picture. I would have just walked away from the whole situation.
Yeah, and they didn't videotape it on Ashley's phone, so that's not what they were taking it for. They were just taking it from her.
Just another way to torment her, probably.
Yep. When Ashley gets to the apartment, Daniel is inside asleep, but he's abruptly woken up by Antonetta, who tells him, "Your is outside, and I her up and recorded it. I used your phone to get her here." So this future scholar also recorded herself admitting to how she lured Ashley to the apartment. I can now see why her and Janine are so freaking close. But that's what we love about these kinds of cases. People just doing whatever they want and thinking they're invincible. They'll never get caught, so who cares if they record themselves bragging about their crimes and creating indisputable evidence? Seriously, you gotta love it.
It almost sounds like Antoinetta is bragging, like it's a combination of bragging and threatening towards Daniel. See what I did and see what I can do if you leave me.
It kind of sounds like that.
Either way, not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah, definitely not. Daniel later tells the police that he heard his sister and girlfriend all hyped up talking in the apartment, but he kept hearing someone pounding on the door and he yelled out, "Hey, you guys don't hear the door?" So he gets up to answer it, and when he opens the door, he sees Ashley standing there waiting for her phone. Her face is all bloody and she's obviously severely injured. He said it scared him, so he quickly gave her the phone and immediately closed the door on her. What the heck is that about? I don't even understand this reaction at all. Even if he was still half asleep, he knew it was Ashley, and she obviously needed help. So his first instinct should have been to save her, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe he just couldn't deal with what he saw, or wasn't processing because he had no idea she was coming over or had no clue as to what happened. But still, he's a grown man who saw the supposed love of his life hurt. It's completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I defer to, he's definitely not worth it.
No, we can't explain how he would do this or why he would react this way.
He probably can't.
Later that same day, Ashley Bocanegra arrived at a local hospital. The staff were shocked at her condition. She explained that she had been assaulted by two women. After examination, she had extensive bruising all the way across her body, internal bleeding in her lungs, a punctured liver, and multiple broken ribs. But her condition was worsening to the point where she couldn't breathe on her own, so they immediately put her on a ventilator. The medical team immediately realized that her injuries were too severe for their hospital's level of care, and Ashley was going to require specialized surgery. So they urgently had to transfer her via an air ambulance and fly her to another hospital capable of providing the life-saving intervention that was necessary.
I do have to say, she does seem like a strong girl to have endured all this and got herself to the hospital.
She does. It's really sad what's happened to her because she does seem like she's very strong mentally and even strong physically.
That's a tough girl. I will say that, even for a little petite thing.
Yep. Small but mighty. But despite all their efforts, later that same day, police receive a call about Ashley's condition. She deteriorated rapidly and tragically passed away as she was being prepared for surgery. An autopsy confirmed that Ashley died from generalized trauma with rupture of the right adrenal gland. Her death was ruled a homicide. Ashley was only 30 years old and she left behind a 7-year-old son.
Oh, that's awful. And I guess I'm the sap who was rooting for a happy ending.
I was too. That same day, Gwinnett County Police went to the apartment where it was reported that the violent altercation between the women had occurred. The officers approached the apartment to speak with 27-year-old Antonetta Stevens and 17-year-old Janine Gonzalez to get their side of the story. Antonetta comes out first, and she's already talking smack about how this girl came over my house and she's messing around with my fiance. She's his manager, and she makes him have sex with her after he been cut her off, or she's going to fire him. And we ended up fighting right there as she approached my home. This is my home. At this point, she's making it very clear that Ashley came to her house, invading her private space, which is why they fought. They informed the women that they will have to come down to the police station for more formal statements because Ashley Bocanegra is dead. They do seem genuinely surprised, but there are definitely no tears shed for Ashley.
Aww.
These two are beyond heartless. And the fact that she's accusing Ashley of blackmailing her fiancé into having sex with her was pretty creative. I'll give her that. But come on now. Ashley is absolutely stunning and definitely would not need to blackmail any guy. No less this pigtail-wearing, average-looking Joe who left her hanging when she needed him the most.
Like I said, I did see pictures of her, and she is really pretty. And I would think that she would choose him without zero convincing. I mean, she was adorable. However, the rest of them...
Whoosh.
Yeesh.
Right? At the police station, Stevens continues to try to justify the assault. She tells them the story of the Quick Trip store encounter and how she has a woman's intuition and knew they were sleeping together, which is why she was so upset. And I get the intuition thing, but if you know your man is cheating and you don't like it, that doesn't give you the right to attack your rival. She's acting like she had every right. She could have and she should have just left his cheating butt.
And I love how they conveniently forget that it takes two.
Exactly. The girl's wrong for cheating with him, but he cheated too.
So true. I mean, why aren't you beating the hell out of him?
I'll address that later.
Okay.
When Daniel was interviewed, he gave a very different version of events of what had transpired the day before. Daniel claimed he had already told Antonetta that their relationship was over and that he wasn't going to allow her to fight Ashley just because of what they were going through. It wasn't Ashley's fault. So now we know what really happened is that she saw Ashley and was out of her mind with jealousy and knew she couldn't compete with her beauty. So she decided to destroy that beauty, probably thinking her man wouldn't want her after she was through with her. Antonetta is a mother of 2 and is acting like she's still in high school.
And he wasn't going to allow her to fight Ashley? Seriously, I think Antonetta could have taken Daniel. There was no allowing or not with that one.
I believe that too. In fact, one of the sources said that Daniel's back was all bruised and scratched up when the police were interviewing him. So it sounds like maybe she already did beat the hell out of him.
She's a peach.
Yeah, isn't she? Don't know why nobody wants to be with her. Antonetta continues to try to justify and saying that the girl came unexpectedly and the fight was mutual. She never planned to kill anybody. She even goes so far as to say, quote, "I'm so sorry about that. That was not my intention," end quote. But let's not forget how many times she says in the video, "I will murder you," and even do worse.
Apparently, she completely forgot there was a video.
She obviously didn't realize they'd already seen it at this point. Then, trying to play a sympathy card, she starts making all the excuses, telling the officers that she's been going through a lot lately and that she has bipolar depression. After coming from up north with her fiancé, she just won't let the fiancé thing go, will she?
I thought they were married. They were husband and wife.
Right? How do you have a fiancé when that's your husband? She continues with her sob story about how they came to Georgia to start a family and buy a house. She never expected him to cheat on her. She's talking to these officers about her sad life rather than showing any remorse for her victim.
So she's already making excuses before they even get to the police station?
So many excuses. While the girls are at the police station, Daniel continues talking to the police officers. At this point, they hadn't shared with him about Ashley being dead. He confirms that Antonetta had gone through his phone and admitted to sending texts to Ashley, acting like Daniel, to trick her to come over. Now the police have proof that Antonetta straight up lied to them earlier when she said that Ashley was the person who kept texting and calling, initiating all the contact and insisting on coming over. As the police are looking through Daniel's phone to verify the text, they find a text from Ashley right after the fight. This text is vital because Ashley tells Daniel that, quote, "I was okay until your sister kicked me in the back, my heart and my chest," end quote. Ashley had a history of heart problems, and this text confirms that Janine was more involved than she admitted to, and she may have even delivered the kicks, causing the most severe injuries leading to Ashley's death.
Talk about the nail in the sister's coffin.
Right? Daniel was never suspected to be involved in any of this. In fact, while he was being asked questions, he finally asked one of the detectives, "Is she hurt? Like, real bad?" The detective responds by telling Daniel that they received a call from the hospital a little while ago, and Ashley passed away from her injuries. Daniel immediately goes into shock mode and starts screaming, "No, stop playing with me. Please, please stop playing with me." He continues to repeat this as he falls to the ground, and they're trying to calm him down. You can see Daniel completely breaking in this moment. He clearly had not understood the severity of what had happened and was not expecting this news. So even though Daniel could have helped her earlier, and if he had, it may have even made a difference in her survival, watching him fall apart was actually very heartbreaking. He had been very calm throughout this entire thing, and then you just see him lose it. I think it was very immature, but he must have loved her. He says later that he felt a hole in his heart as soon as Ashley left.
I'm sure he was heartbroken over Ashley, but he still made choices that might have made things turn out differently. I mean, you said immaturity. That is just so true.
Yeah. I'm torn between feeling sorry for him and blaming him a little bit.
I'm right there with you.
Antonetta's interrogation is not going well for her, and you can tell she's feeling sorry for herself, and she finally requests a lawyer. But before her attorney arrives, she says, quote, "I will say that I don't go out looking to harm anybody. That's not my intention. I do feel very remorseful about anything that has happened with that young lady. I will also say that you know it wasn't my intention to even get into an altercation with her today. She came over to my place of residence looking for my fiancé. We argued, I was hit, and we fought. I feel really bad, but you know, this is too much. I have kids. I don't know how to feel, man. I'm going through too much." End quote. Her boys are 3 and 9 at the time. It's astonishing to me that just because you have kids, people expect any kind of sympathy after they just beat a helpless person to death. She's the one who should have thought of her children's future. Nobody else was responsible for that.
Plus, she absolutely planned all of this out, from getting the phone while Daniel was sleeping to recording what happened to sending the text, plus all the mental abuse that she reaped on poor Ashley. This is not a sign of somebody who's going through too much.
No, it's a sign of somebody who's outraged with jealousy.
She needs anger management.
For sure. Antonetta and Janine had been placed in separate interrogation rooms. Janine is something else and completely unbelievable during her questioning. She's laughing, joking, smiling, and being sassy throughout. I think she thinks she's being cute. She knows she's being recorded and probably wants to look like a badass. She starts telling the story like she's talking to her friends and giving them the tea. It's all fun and games. Let's not forget that at this point, she already knows that Ashley died. She makes it clear that her loyalty to her sister-in-law, aka Antonetta, is strong because Antonetta is more of a sister to her than her actual brother is a brother to her. She says that she was also close with her brother, and he used to tell her about all the women he cheated with. Janine says, quote, "He's a man and all men do it," end quote. But this time she decided to tell Antonetta about Ashley because of how close they are. When she's admitting this to the cops, she giggles and puts her hand over her mouth like, "Oops, my bad," for letting the cat out of the bag. It's almost like she's trying to take credit for being a key player in all this drama.
She's not going to be all laughing and joking if she gets in trouble for her key player part.
She seriously does not understand what's going on here.
She's 17?
Yep.
Okay.
And an immature 17 at that. Janine then says that on the day they saw the couple at Quick Trip, Antonetta had confronted Daniel when he got home, and they had gotten into an argument about Ashley. When it was done, Antonetta told Daniel she didn't want to live with him anymore. One of them had to leave, and it would be easier for him to leave because she has the 2 kids. This version backs up their made-up story of why Ashley came to rescue Daniel. So Janine is trying to follow through with the fake story they had prepared. She doesn't know that they already know the truth about Antonetta sending the messages and not Daniel. Janine continues to go with the story of Ashley coming to the apartment to get her phone back and even says it was Antonetta that gave her the phone back.
Did she forget that Daniel was in the apartment?
I don't know what she was thinking because I don't know why she'd lie about that. I don't think that makes a difference one way or the other. But even that part is a lie because Daniel had actually returned it. The girls had not wanted to give Ashley her phone back because they wanted to text Ashley's boyfriend and let him know what was going on. Janine also mentioned that she thought the fight only lasted 2, maybe 3 minutes. She's so relaxed while she's talking to the detectives. She yawns often and even stops to look at her shoulder and pops a pimple while she's talking. Okay, I've seen people do this before. They're in the middle of a conversation or whatever, and they just stop and pick at their skin, look at it, and wipe it or flick the offending grossness away. I've had it with people who have no shame and no class.
Wow. That's pretty gross.
It's disgusting.
So how long did the fight last? Do you know?
I don't know how long it actually lasted. When asked if she participated in the fight, first Janine denies that she did any real harm. She admits that she dragged her and only hit her a couple of times. She said, "That girl was small as hell. She looked sick and skinny and was too small to be jumped by 2 people, which is why I didn't want to get in on it. Antonetta was more than enough to beat her up. But because these 2 geniuses recorded themselves, we know that wasn't true. She delivered those death kicks to Ashley. Detectives already knew that as well." Janine also makes a point to mention, because she thought it was funny, that she never heard anybody talking while they were getting beat up. She laughed and thought this was so entertaining. She absolutely has no remorse or sympathy for killing this young mother.
She's a piece of work.
Yeah, she is. As Janine is trying to continue to convince the detectives that Ashley came on her own and that Daniel was awake and knew about what they were planning, she messes up because she said earlier that Antonetta came back to the apartment and had to wake Daniel up. So the detective catches her in this lie, and when she knows she's been caught, she just smiles. So now her story isn't making sense, and the cops tell her they already read the messages and they know she's lying. Janine puts her hand up and says, I don't know. What the hell? And she's laughing because she's busted. She finally admits that she knew Antonetta had texted Ashley, but she didn't know what the text said.
Oh, please. She was right there while she was texting. She just needs to stop talking.
She does. When the police mentioned that Daniel had said that Ashley was so messed up he slammed the door on her when he saw her, Janine started laughing and talking really loud as if this was hilarious. And she said, yeah, he did do that. He did do that. And she just cracked herself up.
I can't with this girl.
It's shocking. The detectives say, and now she's dead. And Janine says, yeah, that's crazy. Do you all know how she died? And they say, yes, from the fight. And then she says, do you know the injuries of her death? And she's happy and she's all interested in the details. It's so chilling. This is definitely not a normal reaction to somebody finding out they contributed to another person's death that very same day. She's more interested in the details, and I'm going to guess possible bragging rights.
That's just even too morbid for me.
Then the officers asked Janine, how did that make her feel? She smiled and said, this makes me feel like I'm going to hell.
And it will start when she gets to jail.
Yes, it will. Both women are notified of the charges against them. When Janine is told that robbery is one of the charges, she laughs and says, we didn't steal her phone. We gave it back to her. And she seems a little irritated by this. You know, like this is the biggest problem she has right now. Incredible.
Excuse me, I may be a murderer, but I'm not a thief.
Right? I am an honorable murderer, but I'm not a thief. Then the detective has to break down what robbery actually means, which is ridiculous, and shows her level of intelligence, or lack of it. The officer follows this up with the second charge, murder. And she looks very confused for the first time and says, murder? Me? And he says, yeah, you're being charged with murder. She's absolutely shocked. But then she comes back pretty calm and cool and puts her hand up and says, no, that's too bad. That's insane. No, no, no. What murder? I barely laid hands on her. All I did was pull her hair. You know, the more she talks, the more she keeps adding to what she actually did to Ashley. She's her own worst enemy.
I only pulled her hair.
I only punched her a couple of times.
I only kicked her till she bled to death.
I just dragged her. That's all.
What's wrong with this girl?
They arrest her and take photos of her in the interrogation room. She's posing, she's smiling, giggling, and doesn't seem to understand her situation at all.
Well, those would be cool on Insta.
Wouldn't they? Look at me when I was arrested for murder, but I'm not a thief.
That's right. That's right.
Antonetta, on the other hand, appears to have more of a grasp of the seriousness of what's going on as she's being charged. She goes silent as she waits for her attorney. Later down the road, you see Janine again, but this time in the courtroom. She's definitely not laughing anymore. She looks like she's been through it. She's crying in court and both her eyes are blackened.
So karma has struck and she is actually currently going through hell.
Yes, she is. And doesn't look like she's doing very well. One of the detectives is testifying in the courtroom and says how when Antonetta was beating up Ashley, Antonetta looked at Janine and said, do you want any of this? And Janine replied, yes, I do. and then went over and kicked her at least 3 times in her back and chest. Janine's attorney tries to claim that this is involuntary manslaughter. But when Ashley's last message to Daniel is read out loud in court, saying she is fine until his sister kicks her, this changes the outcome for Janine.
Yep, there you go, Janine. That's what you get.
Antonetta and Janine are ultimately convicted of voluntary manslaughter and robbery by force. They are each sentenced to 20 years in prison. Now there are 3 young boys who will have to be raised without the care of their mothers. They're all victims as well.
And we talk about how the surviving families are the saddest victims.
They're impacted just as much as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Daniel is no angel in any of this. He didn't do the actual attack, but his reaction to seeing Ashley beaten to near death was cowardly and super sketchy. Only a man of absolutely no character or integrity would slam a door in her face. Did he think that would make it all go away? He did absolutely nothing, not even call 911 for someone else to help her if he couldn't handle it. And he never called to check on her after all this. It's beyond comprehension. Ashley must have felt so abandoned at that moment. And after hearing all the lies from Antonetta, who was obviously trying to get in her head about Daniel not caring a lick about her, this actually confirmed it. I'm surprised she even texted him after all this.
Personally, I'm glad she did.
I'm glad she did too, because she put the nail in the coffin for Janine.
Absolutely. And was there any information about Ashley's boyfriend? I mean, I'm just curious. Was he ever around or?
I couldn't find much about him other than the fact that the 2 women said she had a boyfriend and they were trying to ruin that relationship as well. But I didn't find anything else about him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. But in the end, my heart breaks for Ashley and what she must have been thinking and feeling right before she died over a guy who was thoughtless and selfish when she needed him the most. Food for thought, ladies. If you're going to fight to the death over a guy, at least make sure he will have your back and is not a lying, cheating coward.
Just don't fight to the death for a guy.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, sometimes these things happen. Turn the other cheek.
That was a seriously crazy story.
I think the craziest part is that people didn't feel like they did anything wrong after somebody died. That's the craziest part.
Well, it seemed like Antonetta did, maybe briefly, but she was still making excuses. Janine was just, I don't even know what to say about her.
She's not even like human. If you see the video, she's incredible. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Well, thank you for bringing that to us.
You're welcome.
As disturbing as it was.
It was very disturbing. This one will kind of give you nightmares.
We'd like to thank you all for listening. And remember to take care and don't forget to let your grimaginations run wild. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
We just want to thank you all for sharing your time with us. And if you'd like to send in your creepy little grim bits, we would love to hear your personal stories, interests, and suggestions. Please email them to grimwitwithdimwits@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at grimwitwithdimwits, X at grimwitwithdimwits, Facebook grimwitwithdimwits, and YouTube grimwitwithdimwits. Join us every Monday for new episodes, and feel free to share us with your grim-loving friends.
We would really appreciate if you would take a minute to rate and review. 5-star ratings go a long way and would really help us out. Until then, we would love it if you'd come back next week to delve with us into the strange and unusual things we just can't wrap our skulls around.